Welcome to the Chronicles of Lost Relations. Mike, where have you been? What happened that you couldn't make it to my wedding rehearsal? Mama's been trying to get in touch with you since 6, and she's quite upset. Is that so? Where is Mom? She just took my biological dad to his motel. Brenda's eyes flickered away in an instant as she spoke those words. I resumed my previous task, which involved taking down my certificate of commendation from the wall of the lounge, just as I'd been doing prior to my stepdaughter's arrival. What are you up to, Mike? Mom polished all those frames just a short while back. I turned my back on her and brought the framed certificate into the kitchen. Brenda trailed behind me, observing intently as I meticulously encased it in bubble wrap and nestled it into one of the boxes that were already filled. As she spun the fabric of her dress, a wave of nostalgia washed over me, reminding me of the countless dance recitals I had witnessed throughout her childhood. At that moment, she was no longer performing for him. She hurried back to the lounge room. I was right behind her, holding the finished box, when I saw her lips moving, opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. It was only at this moment that it truly sank in for her. Every piece that once held a special place in my space had vanished from the walls and shelves. If she were to inspect my wardrobe or the tools in the garage, they would vanish as well. I stepped out the front door, loading the box into the back seat of my car, when I felt Brenda's presence behind me, silently observing. Her voice was small and trembling, filled with shock at the scene unfolding before her, something she had never even imagined. "Are you really going to leave us?" she inquired. "It's about time you realized. I've been packing up my things for 4 days, yet neither you nor your mom seem to notice. Perhaps that says something important." "I apologize, Mike. I've been somewhat distracted with the wedding preparations. You'll still be attending, right?" "No, I won't, I thought. I thought my absence from the rehearsal tonight would convey that." "But why, Dad?" she inquired. "Oh, so I'm playing the role of Dad once more, am I? I ceased to be referred to as that 3 weeks ago, didn't I?" Brenda trembled, drawing her arms tightly around herself as familiar instincts surged to the forefront. "Please return indoors. The chill in the air is palpable. I'll call Mom first. Feel free to give it a shot, but I have a hunch her phone might be turned off." I responded, making my way back indoors, directing myself towards the lounge and settling onto the couch. I overheard Brenda on her phone, clearly leaving a voicemail for her mom, urging her to call back as soon as possible. Then she sank into one of the plush armchairs, which appeared to engulf her petite figure. I sat in silence, anticipating her to collect her thoughts and initiate the dialogue, yet the expression on her face revealed her difficulty in finding the right starting point. At last, she inquired, "Why aren't you attending my wedding? Surely you must have some insight." I replied, "No, none," she responded, and I could tell from the amused expression on her face that the overwhelming self-absorption that frequently engulfs brides had completely obscured her perception of the situation. It brought me a sense of sorrow. I never imagined she could be so wrapped up in herself. I jolted my mind awake. Feeling pressed for time, I swiftly took charge of the conversation. "Brenda, my affection for you has been unwavering since the moment our paths crossed. When you were a plump little 2-year-old with constantly dirty fingers. My feelings for you remain strong, and as the future unfolds, it's possible that my love for you will endure endlessly." I took a moment to reflect on how to proceed, ultimately choosing to adhere to the structure I had employed in the letter I had stashed away, the one meant for Brenda and her mother. "When I first encountered your mother, she had recently experienced a breakup with your biological father. This tale has been recounted to you on numerous occasions. He struggled with alcohol, and after your mom discovered him with another woman for the second time, she warned him that she would leave unless he committed to making a change. Instead, he just walked away from both of you. He left you behind." I halted, anticipating Brenda to contribute something, yet she merely gazed at me. "Shortly after that, your mom lost the house due to her inability to pay the rent. We crossed paths, discovered a deep affection, tied the knot, and settled into this home with my 2 sons, Timothy and Alistair. Our previous residence simply lacked the necessary space. Regardless, I veer off track. I cherished your mother, and I cherished you. I cherished you as if you were my own, just like I did my biological children. I always embraced the duty of nurturing you. I believed I had performed quite well until about a month ago. Brenda must have sensed the quiver in my voice as I spoke that last sentence, for it appeared to pull her back to the present moment. You were my father, she said softly. You were the most incredible father a daughter could ever wish for. Numerous friends of mine felt envious of my situation. They were utterly astonished when I revealed that you were merely my stepfather. She halted, her hand instinctively rising to her mouth, visibly taken aback by her own utterance. In that moment, she understood what had silently approached me throughout the last month. I pressed on with my manuscript. I admire the choice you made in your life partner, and I felt like the proudest person in the world when you invited me to accompany you down the aisle. I hesitated once more, allowing the gravity of the direction this dialogue was taking to settle in. I could tell the moment it struck her. She averted her gaze. Absolutely, Brenda. You never actually took back the invitation to walk you down that aisle, did you? Your biological father has re-entered the scene, and now I find myself on the outside while he occupies your and your mother's thoughts and discussions. I am a hero of the past. Can you believe she's been so oblivious that she didn't even notice I never rented a suit for tomorrow, as she requested? I observed Brenda grappling with the decision of which issue I had brought up she ought to tackle first. The anguish etched on her face was palpable as the weight of her oversight settled in. She had neglected to request the presence of the only father she had known to accompany her on the most significant day of her life. I expected an apology for that, but instead, she only reinforced her superficiality by trying to rationalize her actions. Mike, you've encountered my biological father. He embodies an extraordinary presence. You need to witness that. He re-entered my life just last month upon hearing about my upcoming marriage, and it has been absolutely delightful. With that eye-catching car of his and the way he's been indulging me, purchasing anything I glance at twice. He simply, how should I put it? We all, including Mom, just figured he would be the one to walk me down the aisle. I apologize for forgetting that I had already inquired. Everything has felt like a whirlwind since he returned. He completely captivated me. Did he really? I inquired. Indeed, that is precisely what he accomplished. One cannot deny. He simply radiates charm. I mentioned to my mom just today. She halted suddenly, becoming aware of her conversation partner and the words that were on the verge of escaping her lips. Her face, typically as superficial as a still pond, where even the faintest breeze creates ripples, now revealed the impact of more profound feelings. A wave of understanding washed over her as she started to grasp the extent of her neglect towards me in the past month. I observed her as she worked through it. I believe I witnessed the precise instant she understood her mother was equally culpable. For the past month, the only words echoing through my home were about William. William did this, or William said that. I attempted to convey my frustration, yet it seemed to go unnoticed. They were utterly captivated by William's charm. Indeed, I noticed his charm as well, I responded. It's clear to me why he excels in sales. I didn't get caught up in any of it, unlike you and your mom. Neither of you saw it coming. I highlighted his unfulfilled commitments on 3 occasions, and the tipping point arrived 4 days ago when I discovered that I wouldn't be escorting you down the aisle. I only found out when I happened to catch you both discussing the seating arrangements in the church. They didn't even bring up my name. Instead of arriving and wishing for an available seat, I began to prepare my things. I thought it best to start easing you into the reality of the situation, so the truth wouldn't hit you too hard down the line. She gazed at me, her expression transforming with uncertainty and remorse. It's clear that he's still the same deceitful, unfaithful person who left you and your mother 2 decades ago, isn't it? He left you once, and the moment he gets what he desires this time, he'll walk away from you again. Oh, come on, lighten up, Dad. I mean, Mike, she stammered. I apologize for not mentioning earlier that my biological dad will be walking me down the aisle. I'm the one to blame, not him. Refrain from directing your frustration at him or resorting to hurtful language. What proof do you possess that he continues to engage in infidelity? Brenda voiced her objections. I mentally went over my reply once again. aware that the truth would be difficult to accept. My 20-year marriage had come to an end, but did that mean I had also lost a daughter? I inhaled deeply. Indeed, once you commit, you might as well go all in, as the saying goes. Where is your mother? I inquired. Her reaction came swiftly. Brenda's gaze darted away from me, then returned, oscillating as if she were pondering the depth of my inquiry. She was fully aware of what I was suggesting. The only thing remaining was the delivery. I simply wished to ensure that we conclude our 2-decade relationship without a web of deceit, allowing us to cherish some memories rooted in mutual respect. I continued. Let me share something with you. This morning, I came across the condoms in your mom's purse. It was evident that they were acquired with this evening as the focal point. I underwent a vasectomy prior to meeting her, so they clearly weren't intended for me. I understand that you're taking the pill, so those weren't intended for you. I'm pleased to report that the packet remains sealed, which suggests she likely hasn't been with him yet. However, purchasing them a day ahead certainly suggests a level of intention. Wouldn't you agree? Her expression revealed that this news came as no shock to her. Therefore, I can only deduce that you were involved in your mother's betrayal of me and our wedding vows by being with that despicable individual. Did you find it romantic? It sounds almost like a storybook ending, where your parents reconcile and you get to enjoy a picture-perfect life with a sleek Porsche parked in the driveway instead of the Nissan I provided for you. Brenda began to speak, but I lifted my hand to silence her. Just skip it. Never mind my previous question. The response is inconsequential. Your awareness of the situation and your choice to remain silent is quite telling. This marks the conclusion of our relationship at this very moment. I rose, moved closer to her, lifted her to her feet, and embraced her firmly, stifling the surge of feelings that had remained unexpressed that day and over the course of the last month. I softly uttered my last words to her. I cherished you deeply. With that, I stepped away from her world. As I turned to look back from the door, I caught sight of the anguish etched on her face. Her cheeks glistened with tears, her body quaking as she struggled to catch her breath. She anxiously searched for her phone, likely wishing her mother had powered hers back on, hoping that perhaps her mom hadn't yet gone too far, believing that maybe her mom could persuade me to forgive her. Brenda was desperate to hold on to her other dad, the one who had spent the past month imploring her mother to rekindle her love for him, even as she found herself captivated by a charming salesman with a complicated history. I dismissed her actions with a shrug. Regardless of whether my wife had actually crossed the line, the evidence I stumbled upon that morning was sufficient for me. I had initially intended to leave for a while to express my dissatisfaction with the recent events, but that morning's revelation made me understand just how dire the situation had become, compelling me to acknowledge that the separation would be lasting. With a sense of peace, I slipped into my car and drove off into the distance. The remainder of the narrative encompasses a blend of factual information and anecdotal accounts. There are certain aspects I can state with certainty, while others remain a matter of speculation. That evening, I dedicated some time to locating the motel where the unpleasant individual was staying. What drives me? I sought to observe my wife's treachery directly, to steel my heart for the actions I understood were necessary. My attempts proved fruitless, prompting me to pivot to Plan B. Once I parted ways with Brenda, I found a spot to park just down the street from the place I called home for 2 decades and switched off my lights. In less than a minute, my former daughter zoomed by in her car, moving so swiftly that a herd of elephants could have trailed her without anyone realizing. She sped directly to a designated motel and hurried into a certain room. I trailed closely, equipped with my reliable vintage SLR camera and its zoom lens. I heard Brenda calling out, yet it was her mother who came to the door. I had steeled myself for the sights I believed awaited me. What caught my attention wasn't the image of Melinda in a quickly donned motel robe with disheveled hair, nor her ex-husband loitering behind her in his boxers. No. What struck me was the fear reflected in Melinda's expression as she spoke. For 2 decades, I had shielded her from feelings like those. It came effortlessly to me. I tossed my camera onto the passenger seat, silenced my phone, and sped away into the darkness. Once Brenda stepped into the room and the door shut behind her, The details of what transpired next reached me through a mix of accounts from different sources. The wedding proceeded the following day, albeit postponed to 6 p.m. instead of the originally planned 10 a.m. Initially, they needed to locate the mother of the bride. After a long night of searching for me, she finally succumbed to exhaustion and drifted off to sleep. Subsequently, additional time was squandered in the search for the bride's biological father, yet he had vanished without a trace. Just as I mentioned to Brenda, the moment he got what he desired, he vanished. I found myself pondering his intentions. My investigation into his life uncovered that he and his second wife did not have any children. Perhaps he longed for the moment of escorting his daughter down the aisle. Some individuals simply enjoy gathering the moments that life has to offer. I suspected he viewed Melinda as an appealing woman, perhaps yearning to revisit past experiences, or maybe it was simply a boost for his ego. With a focus on his own desires, he likely turned on the charm and pursued her until she finally relented. As I had foreseen, when challenges arose, he vanished without a trace. It was likely the priciest encounter he had ever experienced, and before he could even return home, numerous images had already found their way to his wife's inbox. She ended the relationship, executing her prenup with unyielding determination. Subsequently, she assumed control of her father's business, no longer requiring his presence alongside her. Whispers circulated that he was discovered severely injured, his testicles shattered alongside multiple fractures, in an alley a week later. It was mentioned that his father-in-law had consistently looked after his daughter and had never been fond of the man. Nonetheless, by the time the bridal party concluded, he had already departed. They had overlooked their opportunity at the church, yet the vicar graciously arranged a new time for 6 p.m. I was never certain when Melinda realized that the dress she intended to wear had been entirely undone, the stitching coming apart just as our marriage had under her touch. I decided to disregard any outreach from Melinda and Brenda as I navigated the difficult journey of letting go of my feelings for them. My voicemail was flooded with desperate requests for my return, yet that bridge lay in ruins, irreparable. As anticipated, Melinda sent a lengthy message asserting that after she dropped William off at the motel, she went inside, and their interaction was solely a conversation. The items in her purse were intended as a light-hearted joke for the reception, yet the 2 photos I received through email made the truth unmistakably clear. She stood in the doorway of the motel, completely bare. The second image provided a closer view of the same photograph, uncovering what appeared to be clear signs of her betrayal. I responded with a polite decline and requested, in order to safeguard the few cherished memories left, that she refrain from reaching out to me again. She largely honored that request, and now occasionally sends her best wishes my way. I've heard through the grapevine that she's having a tough time letting go and hasn't found anyone to date yet. I proposed a modest settlement in the divorce, and she agreed to it without any objections. I spent some time with my younger son, keeping my car tucked away in his garage. Neither he nor my eldest would answer calls from their stepmother. They could perceive the profound pain I was experiencing. Brenda's new husband eventually found me, and I decided to meet with him because I had a fondness for him. He persuaded me that Brenda had attempted to dissuade her mother from her plan, yet William's sway was too powerful. We still connect from time to time, yet the bond between mother and daughter continues to be fraught. It's unclear if Brenda holds Melinda responsible for the loss of both her fathers, or if her new husband is hesitant to welcome his mother-in-law into their home. One day, I might find it in my heart to forgive her, even though my sons have already moved on. Her new husband is pleading with me for forgiveness on her behalf as well. If the pain wasn't still raw, I might have been deeply affected by the tale of Brenda making her way down the aisle alone, while her mother, sitting there with a weary expression, observed with makeup running down her cheeks. The groom struggled to recall whether there was one empty seat or 2 beside Melinda in the front row. My curiosity about the situation was entirely scholarly. In the time leading up to the wedding, Brenda's new husband found himself frequently probing her about her mother's behavior and opinions concerning her misstep. In the end, He concluded that marrying someone who had experienced the fallout of betrayal could prove advantageous, and he dedicated himself fully to ensuring that the postponed celebration took place with a large gathering of attendees. Yet, news spread quickly, and Melinda could only endure the reception for roughly 30 minutes, facing the piercing stares of accusation from both sides that seemed to cut deep into her very being. Today, I find myself contemplating whether her regret stemmed more from losing me or from overshadowing her daughter's special occasion. I found myself in a state of melancholy for several months, navigating the complexities of grief while grappling with the fear that I might never be able to trust a woman again. Then, in a twist of fate, I encountered Molly. She was the bereaved mother of Alistair's companion, and I encountered her at a bar merely a year after my separation. The bond between Molly and me was instant, and any lingering thoughts of trust swiftly became a distant memory. I used to be someone who brushed off the notion of soulmates. Before I encountered my own, I pondered any remaining emotions from my history, and there were almost none. The poignant odyssey that started with Melinda had reached its conclusion. What on earth, I pondered? Capture the woman. In just 4 weeks, I found myself settling into Molly's home, fully convinced that she was the one I would share my life with as the years went by. Fortunately, her children embraced me as one of their own. Today, her daughter requested that I walk her down the aisle, and even that couldn't diminish the broad smile that frequently ached from sheer joy. I posted the images on my social media, and 2 days later, I stumbled upon a short comment from Melinda, expressing envy for their luck, if only. I have overlooked the comment, and I'm eager to reply quickly. Dear listeners, we invite you to share your insights in the comments below. Also, remember to like, share, and subscribe.